Okay, good morning. For the record, I'm Chris Young, Chair of the HDC Sign Advisory Committee. Let's confirm access. Members, please respond with an aye when I call your name. Kevin Kuster.
Aye.
Mark Catone.
Aye.
Paul Wolf.
Aye.
And Ben Norman.
Aye.
For staff, we have Billy Saad.
Here.
That's an aye, Billy.
Yeah.
Thanks. This open meeting of the HDC's, thanks. This open meeting of the HDC's SAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020. That order, posted with the agenda materials for the meeting, allows public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recorded on the town's YouTube channel. We will allow public comment. Materials provided for the meeting are available on the town's website. During the meeting, I'll introduce topics and speakers. The chair will do so. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name is called. Direct comments and questions through the chair to avoid crosstalk and make the taking of minutes easier. And votes will be conducted by roll call. With that said, I would like to hand over the chairman duties to Kevin Kuster for the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you, Chris. Let's see, we have the adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda or any comments on it, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mark. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And I am as well. Thank you. Approval of minutes from November 8th, 2022. Does anybody have a chance to look at those? All right, thank you, Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a comment on the minutes. I think they've been very thorough, and it looks, by having to write everything down and then scan it in and then post it, seems like a lot of work. I would think that there might be some technical way that you can enter your comments once without having to go through all those processes, but I think they are very well put together. So thank you, Billy. That was kind of a commissioner's comment, I guess. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, do we have any public comments today? No public comments. All right. New business, the Union Lodge at 30 Main Street. I'm wondering if it makes sense to talk about number 2 before number 1. I don't know. Linda, I see you're on. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, the only reason I put the other one on, I don't see it come in too often this way, but I put that on just so it would track whatever we do with the sign. So they matched.
Were you able to find out if there is an existing sign plan already?
If there's what?
If there is an existing sign plan?
Yeah. Oh, I put that thing in a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. The master sign plan.
Oh, okay. All right.
So this is just an adjustment depending on what we do with the actual sign.
Okay, got you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about 30 Main Street then.
I did a survey of every sign on this side of the street. I didn't bother with the other side because most of it's brick over there. I took a survey on this side of the street, and there's a ton of pictures in here. Hold on a second. Somebody got a hold of my Skype number. I just flabbergasted by that. It's not my daughter calling from Australia at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I did a survey of everything going up the street, and 90% of the signs are on the freeze board, not down that far. Plus, I measured every sign up there, and ours is the lowest sign. Some of the pictures are more indicating of that. It's much lower than everybody else because of the steep rise in that section of Main Street going up the hill. People have hit the sign. I can reach up and touch the sign. That's pretty short. What she'd like to do is raise it up like all the ones above her onto the freeze and get it at the same height as all the rest of them on her building, but also up towards where everybody else's are. If you go down a little bit further on the pictures, you'll see me taking one going down the hill. There you go. Everybody else is up on the freeze board, and this one is so much lower than everybody else. It's actually, when you're walking down the street, it's kind of striking. It's not even in line with everybody else's signs. So if she raises hers up on the more simple bracket, which there's a picture of up higher, then it will be out of everybody's reach. Nobody will be able to hit their heads, and it'll be up in almost the same place as everybody else. It's a very simple black wrought iron bracket. So that's what we're after right now. It's overhanging the public sidewalk and people can hit their head on it. If I can touch the top of the sign, that's pretty low.
Okay, comments from the board? Mark, you want to take a shot first?
Sure. It does seem like a compelling argument for this to be raised, if indeed it is sitting that low. I do like the consistency on the building, but if it's problematic for that to hang the way it's illustrated on the slide right now, you might need to consider raising it up. And there are obviously examples further up the block of brackets mounted to the freeze board. It's just that's not what's been done on this particular building.
Yeah, remember in the past, they only had one entity in there. They
Yeah.
had Butners, and then they had the sports locker. And so when they subdivided the first floor, which had never been done before, that's when multiple signs became necessary on the building, and the double front door instead of a single front door into two different locations. So
When I look
it
at this
changed.
particular slide, that sign does look low, the way it's. So
There's
I
more
guess I'm
pictures
open
below
to it being mounted higher, so that it complies with the offset from the sidewalk here. It just, I think it's maybe just a condition of the sidewalk relative to the height available for us to work with there. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Ben, do you have any comments?
Muted.
Let's go on
And
to
you
Paul.
muted. Okay.
Paul,
Yeah, I agree that it should be raised to the freeze board. I looked at it from across the street, and I think the one thing that's compelling is it looks like it's a different. So I think it would not be totally out of place if we raise it to, as Mark has said, to the freeze board.
okay, Ben, are you available?
No, he's still muted.
All right, let's just keep going. Chris,
So I have a question for Linda, because I agree with the other commissioners that raising the sign is the right solution. I'm just curious because there is some concern about trying to keep consistency on that facade with the signs being mounted below the freeze board. If the applicant is willing to make a new bracket, which seems a part of your application, would it be possible? This isn't the slide that would make my point, I don't think, but if there was a straight rod, one of the other slides that shows the three on the building, I think that one, Billy. Like the It's a Shore thing or Cohen Company, if it was a straight rod coming out mounted very close to the top of the brick wall and the projecting sign hung as close as possible to that, that looks to me, at least from the scale of this picture, it would raise the sign up considerably, almost to so the bottom would be above the height of the door. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Is that something that?
No, we looked at that and it didn't get it up high enough.
okay.
I'm looking at the It's a Shore thing.
Yeah,
Well, I'm looking at It's a Shore thing and Cohen Company. Both those signs, the bottoms of them are arguably right at the top of door height. And so I'm just curious if putting a straight rod as opposed to the curved bracket would be a solution. I'm not opposed, honestly, either to having it up on the frieze. I just wanted to try to keep that facade as clean as possible, the way that we had originally intended. So just wanted
Go
to
up
throw
to the
that
picture.
question out there, that
Hey,
idea. out there.
Linda, could you
Go up to
hold
the
until
picture
we
up
get all
here.
the comments, please?
Well, you
Could
can
you-
see the new bracket. It's not this bracket. Go look at the, I believe he's got his cursor on the bracket.
Yeah, I
There's
think Chris
another
was
picture of a
suggesting,
bracket. Yeah,
I think
that's
Chris
it.
was suggesting a new bracket.
Yeah, this is a different bracket than what's on the building now. This is just a simple curved bracket, no fancy stuff
So-
on it.
Yeah. Okay, Linda, I will ask. I'll speak through the chair here, and I think it would be good if you did too. That bracket, my point, Mr. Chairman, is that bracket would allow the mounting to be on the brick and still possibly raise that sign up so that the bottom is at 6'8" or thereabouts. I'm just curious if what everybody's opinion on that would be.
Hey, Ben, do we have you back?
Yeah, sorry, someone came in my office. You know, I feel like we've kind of dragged this applicant through the ringer on this, you know, it seems like they're trying to do the best they can to make a safe sign location. You know, personally, I don't want it on that frieze, but I see the issue. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a compelling reason to deny this at this moment.
All right. My comments would be that I think this building is very important. It's been really wonderfully restored. And I think a bracket could solve the solution. Maybe it's the one that's on the screen right now, or maybe even the bracket goes at the bottom of the sign, which could raise it up even higher. Or it comes in from the side of the sign, or the sign needs to be a little smaller. I'm not sure, but I think it's important to keep it off the frieze board. It's something that we try to do. We aren't always successful, and some buildings, you know, allow themselves to be on it. If you look at Sherburne Hall down Center Street, with the exception of one sign that was not approved, all the others have been kept off that frieze board. And that's a building with multiple entries that is signed quite well. I think there's also an option to put a sign on the wall. So I feel like we have seen this come back and forth, and I think it can be solved with a bracket. The other question I sort of just want to throw out there is that if the purpose of what we're doing is to get everything up to a certain height, I think that probably not most, but there's a significant number of signs that are hanging low for this very reason. It doesn't, if we start raising up here, we might find ourselves having you know, creep of all these signs that start to go up further. So I think it would behoove us to do a little more effort into finding out how to possibly make this work, maybe getting another opinion. I don't think it's harmful in the short term to leave it as it is, and I don't see a rush for it. So for those reasons, I'd like to hold for revisions, but
And I have a
Um,
rebuttal after you're done.
certainly let's just see first if there's some other public comment. I don't think so. So sure, Linda, go ahead.
There's a reason that there's a planter underneath there. Someone's already hit his head on this. That's the
Right.
problem.
Right, we
Number
know that.
two, this side of the building, because they've changed the dynamics of the front of the building, this piece looks like it's a completely separate building. Because the rest of it is, there's a lot more wood trim on the rest of that building. And when you look up the street, no one's going to be setting any precedent by putting this on the frieze board because there's more pictures below than what Billy stopped at. looking up the street, where every one of them is already way up in the air. Some are much higher than anything on this building. They're way up in the air. They're all on the freeze board. So being the fact that this part of the building is more brick, the glass is different, the door is different, because they set it up as a totally separate unit, that it doesn't look like it's part of that building. It isn't going to start a big push to have everybody up higher than they already are, because everybody going up the street is already higher or is tucked in a different way. This is not. It's directly on the steepest part of that side of the street. It's lower than everybody else. It's also one of the only ones that is not on the freeze board. We've already looked at a straight line coming off that building, and it still doesn't get it up high enough. And no, she's not going to redo that sign. That's unreasonable. But if you ran this thing straight up off the top, it is still lower than everything else on that street. So we have looked at every option. This is granted is a very fancy bracket, which was already approved, that came off of Center Street. That was the original location of this store and that bracket. It does not work in that location. A straight line doesn't work in that location because it still doesn't get it up high enough where I can't touch it. So if it goes up on the freeze board on the right-hand side of this building, where it doesn't even look like it's the same unit as the other two units on the left, it's not going to start some sort of a stampede, because most of the ones on that side are already in the freeze board and already even higher than this one, even when it goes up on the freeze board. So I don't think we can be unreasonable about this.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify one of your comments, you said something about moving that sign up to the far right edge of the freeze board. That's
No,
not
I
what's
didn't say that.
indicated.
I didn't
Okay.
say that. I said move it up, just up,
No, I
straight
thought I
up.
heard, okay, well, I heard differently then.
No, I said the right side of the building is different than the other two units because they sort of set it off on its own as far as its appearance on the street side.
Okay, understood. Any other comments from the board? Any motions?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, all those in favor of Mark's motion to approve it submitted? Ben,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Chris?
Chris is
He's
muted.
muted.
Sorry. Well, it's too late. We didn't have a second on that. It's too late to make any kind of an amendment. to
Oh,
this,
I'm
right?
sorry, sure, you can make a comment, but you can do that.
I'm just curious because Linda, you brought up an interesting point. What is the elevation if this were to move to the right side of this door and up? Would it help any of our concerns about the facade? I don't know if there's a photograph that shows that.
No, it can't, because that's where they have the access to the Mason's Lodge above, and they have
The
a
Union
signboard and
Lodge.
all that stuff. Yeah, Union Lodge. It wouldn't make any sense over
Okay.
there. It'd be on the
Understood.
opposite side of where the door actually opens.
Okay. All right, I'll vote in favor of this.
Okay, who am I missing? Mark?
I made the motion.
that's
In
right.
favor of my motion, yeah.
All right. Okay, that motion passes. I am not in favor of that. I think it could have been solved in another way. All right.
Thank you. Oh, and
Uh,
then obviously the adjustment to the master sign plan. I've already relocated on that.
Yes. I don't, are there any comments on that? Any comments on the master sign plan, or if everybody had a chance to look at it, is it what you're expecting? Or do we want to hold the master sign plan and just make an exception for this one situation?
I would rather have you have a complete master sign plan.
I understand what I'm asking the board.
I think
have
we
no
should
problem.
approve. Yeah, I think we should approve the master sign plan. So I would make a
Second.
motion to approve it.
Second,
Second.
All right, all those in favor of Chris's motion to approve the modification to the master sign plan? Ben,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Chris, you made the motion, Mark,
Aye.
and that motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Happy holidays.
You too, Linda.
Okay, next up. 35D Old South Road. Is anybody here for this sign? I guess not. Can you scroll up a little bit, Billy, so we can see what this is?
My question on this application was whether or not we're replacing, there's an existing sign showing, I think says Gosnold. Is this going in the same location and replacing it, or is that, there's really no indication of where this is going on the building in this application?
Yeah, I kind of had that question also. We could probably get that clarified. I got the sense that they're taking over that space, but I don't know if that's accurate.
Mr. Chair, point of order. I don't see anyone here to represent that, but they do list this as a metal existing bracket. So they didn't call it out on the application, but I believe the intent is to reuse the sign space for that existing Gosnold sign.
Yeah, that was my take also. So why don't we comment on the sign and we can verify what Billy just outlined. Chris, you have anything else to add?
No, I would be in favor of this sign with the assumption that it's replacing the existing sign.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
I agree with what Chris said. I have a question. Is there a border around this, or is it? I see, it said it was beveled, but I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah, it does say bevel, but it doesn't show it change of color or anything.
No. It ought to have an outline.
Okay, anybody else?
I agree with Paul.
Okay, so can we get a motion?
I make a
I'll
motion to approve, but with the edge banding to be white.
Or that's the other, yes, okay, and perhaps to verify the location that it's replacing. All those
Second,
okay, thank you, Paul. All those in favor, Chris? Mark?
Yeah.
We got Chris, Mark,
Aye.
Ben,
Aye.
Paul,
aye.
and I'm in favor as well. That passes. Thank you. Next up, Egan Maritime.
Okay, pull this.
This is at the Life Saving Museum.
This is Sign here, Nantucket. I'm representing. Let me know when you'd like me to review. the
Yeah, sure. Go
application.
ahead. Go ahead. Thank you.
So they're looking to have a new sign. It's the same length as the existing sign. They're just adding 5 inches because there's additional writing. So instead of just Shipwreck and Life Saving Museum, they're adding Egan Maritime Institute on the top.
Okay. Comments from the board?
I have a comment. Is the word institute spelled correctly?
I was wondering.
I think we're missing an E. I think.
Okay, with the spelling error fixed.
Okay, I don't have any problem with it.
You just saved them thousands of dollars, Paul. Somebody anyway.
Okay. Any other comments? Mark or Ben or Chris?
No, I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay, my only comment is, yes, we got to correct the spelling. It looks to me like the large cap letters on the Shipwreck Life Saving Museum, the S and the L and the M, appear to be bolder than the other type fonts. And I think a modification to get those to be the same font would improve the sign. Other than that, I don't have any other comments to add. So can we get a motion, please?
I'd motion to approve as submitted. However, the institute should be spelled correctly.
Second,
All those in favor? Chris,
Aye.
was that an aye? Okay, Ben,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Paul,
aye.
and I'm in favor as well. It probably would be helpful to, I guess, I don't know if we need to update their sign plan or not, but this might be an opportunity to relay a comment about some of the excess signs that go up there in the summer. So we don't have to go back and chase them. Okay, next up.
We are also representing for, I can review anytime.
You are
So
also
she-
representing this?
Yes.
And okay, go ahead.
So she would like to have a sign at 5 Washington Street where the gift box sign was. She's going to be using the existing bracket. Her new sign size is going to be 16 by 24. And the original location at 14 Federal was just an example to show that the design has been approved before. So she's just changing location.
Okay. Same colors as the existing, or looks
So
like it.
it is the same colors as the sign you approved at 14 Federal, but the sign there prior to her was the gift box, and that was also a double-sided hanging sign.
Okay. Comments from the board?
No comment from me, Paul.
I just want to make sure that since we've talked about height off the sidewalk, is there any concern about the height to the bottom of the sign? I don't recall the gift
These
box.
did a little
if
bit
it's-
higher, I think, I believe here anyway, because there's a bit of a step up into those spaces.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a better
picture-
shot. Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt, but the bracket there is the existing bracket, so we wouldn't be moving it unless,
yeah,
I
and
guess.
but
Okay,
they're at 16 inches in height. I think they'll be fine. It looks like they'll be just above the lintel thereabouts of the door.
yeah,
Yeah.
that looks fine.
And the step out kind of blocks it off.
I have no concerns.
Anybody else? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve as filed.
All those
Second,
in Thank you, Paul. All those in favor of Mark's motion to approve is submitted. Paul,
aye.
Chris, Ben,
Aye.
Chris, back to you. You there?
Oh, yeah, I think I'm here.
Aye. And I'm in favor as well.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
So we are representing this sign as well. Dick is also on, he's welcome to add anything. But we are going to be replacing the sign there, taking that sign down and adding a new sign. And the slide is pictured on slide number 5. So it's going to be Family Resource Center, and the logo at the end is less than 15% of the sign.
Can you just clarify again where this is going? Is
It's
it a-
going over the
up?
thing, right where the other sign was, like center underneath the window, the third window, or the middle window.
Okay. Then is there another sign proposed for above the door?
No,
No. Okay.
What's there now?
what's pictured is there now. It looks like there might be some sort of temporary sign above the door. I'm not sure, but that wouldn't be there.
Okay. So the application is for the sign that's up above the overhang.
Yes, we are replacing that sign with the sign pictured there.
Gotcha. Okay. Any comments, Mark?
No concerns. I actually think it's an improvement from what is there now.
Ben?
Looks great.
Paul?
I only have a question. Is it larger than the existing sign?
Yes, it is larger than the existing sign, but it is also like not as wide.
Okay, all right, I have no problem.
Chris?
Oh, no concerns.
I have no concerns either. I think it is an improvement. So can we get a motion, please?
Motion to approve as filed.
Thank you, Mark. Second.
Second,
Second.
Chris? All those in favor, Ben,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye,
Mark, you made the motion.
Aye.
Chris second. I'm in favor as well. Thank you. That passes.
Thank you. So this next sign, we're also representing, but I think before we get into the overall details of the exact sign, I think it would be important for Jason to speak to the importance of why we are applying for this sign.
Okay,
Mr. Vice Chair, am I okay to go ahead?
sure.
Okay, so Fairwinds has never had a sign out on Vesper Lane to turn into Gwynn Village because there's no freestanding signs really allowed anymore. Totally understand that. But something has changed now at Fairwinds. So starting January 3rd, so normally we are a counseling center. You come in for therapy, med management, kids, adults, and it's not really immediate or crisis level. So all the problems that we have with people trying to find us, taking a left or right into Gwynn Village and then taking a right around the curve, you know, they call us and we sometimes they're an auto scop and we got to go find them, but not a big deal. But starting January 3rd, we are going to be the crisis center for all mental health. And we're partnering with the hospital to divert people away from the emergency room. So if you have a crisis, anxiety, if you're not at harm to yourself or to others, we will come to you or you will come to Fairwinds. So people can bring their children here. We're right now we're 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're going to be soon in January. We'll be open 7 days a week till 8 o'clock at night because we are going to be the crisis center. So the problem that we're facing is how do people know to turn into Gwynn Village? And I've collaborated with the Coast Guard because it would have to be on their property. And they love the idea of putting a sign up because I just recently talked to the Master Chief and he said people looking for Fairwinds will knock on their Coast Guard housing doors. And every once in a while, doesn't happen a lot, they walk inside because there's no signage for Fairwinds. So what we don't want is people not be able to find us in an emergency. So I'm completely open to whatever you guys say, whether it's in the ground, similar to the emergency room, or hanging like Key Post Corner, or some other solution that we could let people know that this is the way to turn in to Fairwinds. And the Master Chief and Coast Guard, we're working with their Rhode Island Warwick office where they do the real estate and this kind of stuff to put another sign inside so you know to veer around to the right and not go to the left to where their housing is. So that's kind of the main issue. So we're pretty much going to be the emergency room for mental health. And right now there's no way for people to find us because Gwynn Village isn't a road. So we can't really put so anyway, that's why we're coming to you to see what can we do.
Okay, thank
Chair, if
you.
I may.
Certainly.
So I appreciate Jason's introduction and reasoning for the signage. I think I'm going to speak for the members that can we explore the possibility, given there is a fence in place? Would a fence sign meet your needs and therefore would be in compliance with our guidelines and not trying to permit a freestanding sign? Is that something we could have a discussion on?
I-
think the
Yeah,
applicant.
I would think so, but why don't we make sure that everybody's,
Yeah, and again, I'm making an assumption. Do the other members feel similarly, or are they open to considering a freestanding?
anybody want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I am not in favor of a freestanding sign. A thought I had as a compromise would be a street sign. But I don't know what the name of that street is, but put up a street, a town designed street sign with something underneath that says Fairwinds with an arrow, such as you find at Jetty's Beach. And I think we've used it in a couple of other places to direct people to where they need to go.
Okay. Ben or
I was
Chris?
thinking, I was thinking along the same lines, whether a fence sign, especially on this side of the street, looks like it could work. And then I'm curious, Jason, coming down the road from the other direction, if a street sign, I don't know if we want to put too many signs at the end of the street, but the street sign concept could also be worth exploring, so I agree with Mark and Paul that there could be some other ways to look at this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything that's been said, and it's probably, I think it's important to get something here based upon what I've heard anyway. And it's one of the more serious requests for a freestanding sign that we've had. But I think those other solutions would work equally as well if there were, and mainly because I think this sign is, as shown, is a little, has become more than directional. It's also become, an identifier with a logo and all that stuff, which isn't really necessary on an emergency type of a sign. But I do think some of the ideas that were mentioned are worth exploring. I don't know if the applicant has any thoughts on that, if you'd like to go back and revisit those ideas. Jason or sign
Sure,
here.
Yeah, we can, maybe Kayla and I can go back and look at, 2 or 3 different options so we can just see them visually. And I did talk to Ray from the DPW who used to do the signs. I don't think he does anymore. Of could we put up, it's not really a road. It's not a road on the map. On our the streets, Gwynn Village isn't really a road. It's just kind of an area, but that could be it. And it'd be better than nothing. If it was, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but a quarter board type that's underneath the street sign. So say Gwynn Village, like it sees everywhere in the island. And so that could be one option. Really, my goal is to whatever colors or fonts or however you want to set up. I just need people to take a left or right to come in there when they're in a crisis. And it is equal to the emergency room as the hospital. And I know a lot of people might not think that, but if you've ever had a mental health crisis in your family, it is equal or worse than, cutting your finger, having to go to the ER, the hospital. So
Yeah.
the goal is just to make sure people see it and they know to turn down that way.
So it's sounding like we need a motion for revisions, perhaps, and hold.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to hold for revisions to consider other options discussed in today's meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Mark and Paul. All those in favor, Ben,
Aye.
Chris, Mark,
Aye.
Paul,
Hi,
and I'm in favor as well.
Jason has
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah, I just want to double check. So come January 3rd, we're not going to be able to get this figured out by then. I'm going to have to put some kind of sign up there for people to come. It'll be temporary. I don't know, maybe we can work out something, we can lower the fine or something, but I've got to have something up there temporary. Set the vinyl. As soon as we get it figured out, we'll change it to whatever needs to be. Some of that's my fault for not coming to you guys a month ago. Just didn't think this part through. So one last thing is the state has all Mass Health and uninsured mental health clinics have to go through a CBHC. So we have a community behavioral health center status now, contract with the state. And this is one of the things that's driving all of this. And they look through these type of things. So I have to put something up there, but I almost didn't want to say it, but I want to be completely transparent. I need to put something up, and I don't want it to look gross or the Coast Guard knows, and they're okay with it. And I'm working with them as well. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, you can certainly put a temporary sign up, and as long as we know that it's temporary and there's a period of time, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's going to go on that fence. I think we're going to kind of nail that fence. So, and it'll be similar to something you already approved for other buildings.
Yeah, but anybody have any comments on this, or do you want?
I mean, my immediate thought was just given the temporary nature of it, and they're actively before us, and I trust the organization that, even if they did, not unlike the political signs that we see, it could even be a wire in, if it's something they need to order up and have in place for compliance. I don't know if we approved them, but they're not the ones along milestone for the Lyme's disease vaccine trials that seem to be showing up. Maybe something along those lines for just the very short term, and maybe we give it 30 days or 45 days temporary approval for something like that, if the other members feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Anybody else? Does that help, Jason?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I really appreciate your flexibility, and apologize for not getting to you earlier.
Yeah, I think if you take a look at either that fence option, or take a look at like down where you turn into jetties, where the town has put a sign up that says, tennis and restaurant or whatever, with a simple arrow, that that could work pretty well right there.
Would it be okay if I the town and see, could they put a 4x4 up and put Gwynn Village, and see if they'll even be able to do that? I can explore it on my end.
Sure. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, I think we would encourage that, but at least if we are going to have a freestanding sign, and especially one that has to do with location, people are kind of looking for street corner signs and directions. So if you just had, fair winds with an arrow up on there, and I think that the plus that gets it up higher off the road, and you could that would be my suggestion.
One last thing, sorry, I keep talking. Because this is federal land, the Coast Guard has to approve as well. And so I'm also be kind of working with, make sure it's what they want.
All right. Any other comments, thoughts?
No.
All right. Thank you. What's up next, Billy?
So we have enforcement, and then we do have, I had under other business discussion on real estate signs and construction signs. I am going to ask to hold the construction signs. The person who wanted to have this conversation was not able to make the meeting.
Okay. Was that about changing them?
I think just getting some clarification, and yeah, I think opening up a discussion about what could possibly be acceptable.
Okay. Anything else on enforcement? I'm noticing still a lot of stuff on Center Street, that more easels and stuff popping up.
Neon lights.
Yeah.
If you guys come across any infractions, please take photos and send them to me. I've been any of the photos Paul's been sending me, I've been trying to act on, or I've been acting on. I've been reaching out to people, trying to go there in person, talk to them, or talk to them over the phone rather than starting with sending a letter. I think it's important to kind of build a little bit of a rapport with someone rather than take the heavy-handed approach. And I feel like I've had pretty good success with some other ones. We got the real estate sign at Richmond's been removed. A couple of the sandwich boards, like Susan Listerlock's business, the one on Old South, the Nantucket Studio, Nantucket Stone, that one's been removed. And I have been reaching out to contractors when you guys have been sending me signs. So I believe Frank Daly's signs have been removed, both on Pulpus and the one out by Bartlett Farm.
Yeah.
And also there was an architect sign on 107 Matticat Road.
Great.
Thank you.
I noticed one on the way into town this morning, on Fair Street at St. Paul's Church. And I don't know if it's new or they just repaired it, but it's a really big freestanding like menu box, but bigger. Does anybody remember that being there before? I mean, not that I want to like dig at a church, but anyway, if you guys go down Fair Street, take a look. It looks like they just planted it or repaired it or something. So
I was looking in here. Washington Street has a few freestanding signs, and I'm questioning if any of those have approval because I haven't been able to find anything on those. I believe one of them's Harbor Square. There's the Mariah Mitchell Aquarium. I think they have some sort of freestanding sign out by the street. And I mean, it's kind of, I'm looking at you guys on what you think with those. I think they're helpful, I think, for people trying to locate like the Mariah Mitchell Aquarium. I mean, I bring my son there in the summer. So whatever, what do you guys think?
I believe those were some of the first ones that went up that led to
Yeah,
the
they all ring a bell.
process. But I think, and they've been around as long as I've been involved, and I think
Yeah.
I think they're kind of on the grandfathered list.
Okay.
In fact, if I remember right, Harbor Square came in to refurbish theirs maybe 6 or 8 years ago.
It gets tricky with the files in terms of trying to find some of the applications on some of those buildings because they're all jammed in. The map and parcels get a little squirrely.
Yeah, that was kind of, I think in that same era was the bake shop over a block or so. And once that came down, that isn't allowed to go back up. So if
Okay.
it comes down at one of those locations, I think that's when we would act.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else to add on that? But thanks for your work on the enforcement. I know it's a challenge, but
Yeah, I wouldn't call it fun, but I'm doing what I can do.
well, it's always the same people. It's like, Friedman's has their whiteboard out again over the weekend, and Epernay has its umbrellas set up over the weekend, so you're not going to be around to see them,
Right.
and they just keep doing it every year. And that's where I think if we can come up with a way to make it stick with them, it would be helpful. Any other comments or thoughts for today, or can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So move.
Second,
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mark. All those in favor, Chris,
Aye.
Ben,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Mark, and
Aye.
I'm in favor as well. All right,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
all very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Get
you,
better,
guys.
Chris.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.